Good morning, traders. Let's take a look at what happened with the jobless numbers. And we'll take a look at to see what happened there. It looks like initial jobless claims came in a little light, but the market actually going higher here. That's where it's really kind of impressive to see this move, guys. I would say this is an impressive move here, guys. What do you guys think? Just take a look here. Initial jobless claims came in at 233, a little slight undercut of the 240s, right? That helped things. But look at the unemployment number. Unemployment came in at 4.1 versus 4.3. So it's not jumping as high as expected. So that's reversing some of the ADP numbers, and it's getting the lift here with the overall market getting a little bit of a move. Will this just be the top of the day? I think that could be the top of today. I don't know if we're going to be able to break that 623 here. We'll see what happens. Good day yesterday as the market ripped higher. We'll talk all about that. We'll get to the sunrise report. We'll get to some stock outlook out there. But definitely, you guys can see we've been rising away from the all-time highs, now starting to get away. Are we going to do a pullback? We're still hanging out on the top end of the Bollinger Band until we pull off on that top end of the Bollinger Band like we did here when we started to dip down. I'm still in that bullish camp, and it seems like the bulls are winning again as they keep pushing the stocks higher. All right, we'll see what happens with this. We'll be taking a look to see what else is out there. And looks like Starbucks offering a 6 million stock bonus to executives, like if they don't make enough money. But hey, that's just how it goes there, guys. The SPY now pulling back a little bit after that first rip right off of the number. We'll see if it's able to hold that rip, or will we just turn around off of that? A lot of times these rips could be fake outs, and especially off the number. Now we're just falling down here back towards 621.77s. Will we continue to see the leak? I have to wait and find out, traders. All right, we'll keep going and taking a look out there, and we'll see what happens with Bitcoin. Bitcoin was ripping and rocking and rolling yesterday. Now today, it's starting to pull right back down, and this is how Bitcoin has been lately, guys. Every time you think you got it, it starts to pull right back down. So we'll see what happens. Yesterday, killer day in Ethereum. That was my killer trade, guys. I was trading this right out the gates in between this 54. It eventually went all the way as high as 59, guys, and I had 500 shares. I think I definitely sold this move too early, but I actually made 2 trades on Ethereum yesterday, and it was a monster day for me yesterday. Over $1,200 made in the day trade account, and hey, that's all you can do. A lot of it made on ETHU and TSLL as Tesla bounced back yesterday. Got a nice little move there. We'll see what happens with Tesla today. Can it continue going after, of course, the bounce from yesterday? All right, we'll take a look at that action. We'll take a look back into the SPY. We'll go to the playbook. We'll see if this can hold on. The pullback's right there. And, of course, the market a little cool down, but still staying hot after the jobs report here. Let's keep talking about things in the markets. You guys out there, what's going on? Smoke Tuna, how we doing? Let's make the chat rich today with some high-level calls today from the Smoke Tuna. Get after it, Smoke Tuna. And, hey, I have to bring you on, my friend, to talk a little bit more about your service, your scanning service, of course. And if you guys want to check that out, I'll throw up a link in just a little bit here for Smoke Tuna's scanner there. And it's really good for the small caps. So definitely check that out, traders. We'll be talking more about it. I need to open my swing account. I have my day trade account open right now. I need to get my swing account open, but I'll get that opened up. I'm ready to get after it, guys. I've been battling in this swing account. Let me show you guys a little bit more about the swing account. We've been talking about some of these swing trades, but let's talk a little bit more about it here, guys. Of course, I've been battling, as you guys can see. It's been a little bit of a ride since June. I opened this one up on June 2nd or June 1st, I think. And then on June 2nd, I got a little bit of a dip down, right, back into the 990s, got as low as 980s, and even as low as 9.7 at one point. Turned things around. You can see I was kind of stair-stepping, and then just ran into a couple of days of some losing, but was able to bounce back. And now have been kind of taking these nice little step-ups, right? Well, yesterday, not a bad day. What I like is I'm keeping the success rate near the levels that I need, right? Above 20% is really what I'm looking for. And the risk to reward ratio. It's all about keeping this closer to a 1 to 5, because if I can do that, we're looking pretty good, right? And so I can handle a 20% success rate if my risk and reward is this high. This is why it's so important to focus on this risk to reward and making sure that you're finding a ratio that you can repeat, that you can actually get the gains in. All right, guys. And of course, I like to show you guys it all. So we can take a look at some of the top trades and some of the worst trades here on the day trade account. We'll go to the playbook in just a second. Here are some of the best trades, right? Let's start off with the good stuff. Then we'll talk about the bad stuff here. But SMR, of course, one of the best winners. And you can see 2 trades on there, over 600 on those trades. And then Palantir doing really well on that one. And E, these are the swing trades. So they've been doing really well. One thing I've noticed more and more also is if I can gain some, $200 winners, or even over that 100, sometimes taking the money and running right now is really helping. All right, let's take a look at the top losers, of course. And I don't run away from these. I show you guys it all. So we can definitely take a look at them. And you guys can see here, 266, right? 266. Not something that I definitely want to give up again, but got caught there. And he was on the stock that I did what? The best in, right? The stock that I did the best in, I also did the worst in. What does that mean? It's a high flyer, and it moves really fast. Another loss here on Chevron, about 224. And this one was a frustrating one because I remember this one was actually in the green and then eventually came back down on me. AEVA, another one there. Swing trade on the short side of things, really got caught on this one, got out of the trade though, and took my loss, right? And sometimes you got to, because this thing actually went way higher than this. All right, and then the TEM, you can see there's about 4 major loss, I would say, and then that's offset with what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 major wins, right? I would say. And that's what it's all about, guys. You're trying to really get these kind of risk to reward ratios to really help and keep you higher, right? We'll see what happens. There you guys have it. Some insights into my trading. I hope you guys enjoy that I give you access to this and let you guys see it all right here, of course, on Trade the Pool. All right, we'll talk a little bit more about some other trades out there, and we'll get into, of course, some other trading action. You guys smash the like. We got a lot more for you guys coming up. And then, of course, we'll have Michael Noss joining us in just a few minutes. But definitely trying to get that swing account. I need to get to 1,500. I'm at 832. Still about a little bit over halfway, right? Not at 60% just yet, but just slightly under 60%. So I just got to keep it going, guys. We'll see what happens out there, guys. Got to keep pushing on. Let me get my swing account open here, get this ready to rock and roll. And then we'll go right into the playbook. We'll get to the sunrise report. We'll take a look at the market action to see if we can get a little bit of a bounce back. Let's get into the action today with first starting off into the playbook. All right, team, let's talk a little about this playbook and see what we can come up with. Of course, the first one up we're going to talk about is a long that I've been waiting for a long time to see, XYZ. And this is more about blockchain, guys. So I'll be watching to see what happens with this. It's pulling back right now, but it just broke out of this base. And what have you been hearing more and more talk on? Of course, blockchain technology. So to me, this base right here is very important. We can come back and make it as a support try. And so that's what I'll be watching for. If we have a red day today, can he come back to 67, 66.50 and catch some buying again? If not, a breakout above 70 doesn't look bad either. We'll see what happens here in block. And you can also look at Square to see what happens with this one. Not Square, to look at PayPal. To see if this one kind of leads. One of them is going to take lead, and I think they're both looking good. So you can use them as indicators to see if this starts to get the real run. All right, let's keep a look at some other names out there. I can go to some different ones on the tape. Guys, there's so much to talk about here out in the market today. So you guys out there, if you guys got a watch that you guys are watching this morning, or maybe it's a stock that maybe I haven't really been paying attention to, let me know in the chat, guys. I'm here for you guys just like you're here for me. And we'll take a look at some of the trades that you guys are watching in the market. All right, let's keep going. We'll go to the next one here. This is a long that I've been talking about for a little while now, and it's actually working really well. ANF. as it got off the floor right there. Of course, it had its earnings pop. The earnings pops was actually really good. They crushed earnings a few weeks ago, popped to 104.99, then pulled back all the way back down. But now we're seeing it break back out through the 87 spot and continuing to go. If this momentum holds, I'm watching for a push towards that 100 level and maybe recovering this 104.99. So I would be watching this 105 spot, right, like a hawk, to see if we're going to continue to climb right back in ANF. This is also has to do with a classic trend that's coming into play, which is also the back to school trade, right? Back to school is going to be coming sooner than you know. So keep your eyes on ANF. And this all has to do with what? This all has to do with off the backs of Nike's earnings report. And we'll be talking more about that during the show. Let's keep going. Let's go to the last one here on the playbook. We give you 3 plays a day. And these are just plays that I'm looking at. You guys don't have to trade these, but they look like nice setups, and that's why I bring them to you. Pakar, another one that I've talked about for a little while now, looking for it to make a trend line approach. Some move into this spot. So I'm actually going to put a green box there because I'm watching for that area to come into play. We'll see if we can get up there. Let's draw a little green box there. Let's get the shading up a little bit there. Boom. This is where I'm expecting the stock to get to. We'll see if it really wants to get running. Another thing that's helping it is all the moving averages are slightly below the price action now. It can really get going. We'll see if it can push to that next level. All right, that's Pakar, of course, and this is all running also with Caterpillar right at the resistance. So Cat could pull back a little bit or break right back above the 400. Deer has been hot also. I'm looking for these names to take the next step. So I think it's Deer that takes that next step and leads the action. I need to see that break through the 530s, but I could also just play Pakar on the little bit of a leader to laggard style trade. And there's other names here in the space. And all of this is also in the XLI, of course. That's what? Making new highs. Let's find those sectors making new highs and let's ride those trends. All right, guys, let's keep it going. We'll get towards, of course, let's get to the Sunrise report where we tell you guys about what stocks are moving in the market and why. We'll get to the SPY also. We'll take a little bit of a look again. Seems like we pulled back, but are still holding that little pullback there right around the 621.75. Will we make another ramp up? Only have to wait to find out, of course. Let's get to the action. Let's get to today's Sunrise report and see what's moving in the market and what you can be looking for. All right, futures were flat before the jobs report, of course, getting the spike with that jobs report that came in a little bit under the expectations, right? And that's what it really was about. Unemployment rate was rising to 4.3, the expectations from 4.2 on the prior reading. Going down to a 4.1 definitely wasn't the expectation there. It was an increase to 4.3, so that definitely helped things. Forecasted 110,000 jobs in June versus 139,000 in May. And we saw there that the jobs pretty much came in a little bit light. So a lot of people were thinking that today could be a little bit dicey. And Jay Hatfield, CEO of Infrastructure Capital Advisors that I talked to, and I need to bring Jay back on. I need to bring Jay on this show. A weak report might hurt tech stocks, but lift value names. Though the overall market could still fall due to tech's large weighting. And I think that he was right on that end. The only thing is that we got a soft number. And a soft number could accelerate rate cut bets for as early as July, especially after the ADP on Wednesday's data showed a $33,000 drop in private payrolls. So definitely something to kind of keep an eye out. We'll see what happens there. Will the rate cuts change? We'll take a look at that. We'll go to the CME Fed tool to take a look at that. And it's a great way to kind of see what's going on with the expectations for rate cuts. Trump's tax and the mega bill nears its final passage as President Trump's wide-ranging tax and spending litigation, the big, beautiful bill, has cleared the House Rules Committee and is now heading for the final floor vote, potentially before the end of the week. The bill passed the Senate Tuesday Markets are watching for corporate tax code revision, tariff flexibility provisions, and fiscal stimulus extensions. We'll see how this works out. U.S. markets are closed early, of course, for July 4th. New York Stock Exchange and the NASDAQ will be shutting down at 1 p.m. Eastern today. So you don't have to be trading till 4 today, guys. I will say that. And, of course, markets will be closed, of course, tomorrow for Independence Day. So shout out to all you guys. All my Americans out there will be celebrating tomorrow. Hope you get some good hot dogs and hamburgers to clog up those arteries, baby. The good old-fashioned American way. All right, we'll see what happens out there as Apple rebounding in China. And I've talked about how Apple could be that trade to make here and how institutions could be getting after this name as it had all this bottoming action, right? Now we're really trying to get going. We got there to 211. We need to continue the good news in Apple. And this one, not a bad one. Apple saw an 8% increase in iPhone sales in China in the second quarter, its first year-over-year growth there since 2023. And this was according to Counterpoint Research. The boost came from aggressive discounts on the iPhone 16 models. Trade-in bonus helped also China's 618 shopping festival. Huawei, however, remained a formidable rival as 12% sales growth in Q2 continued. Number one in market share ahead of Vivo and Apple in China. Apple stock is down 15% year over date and has faced dual pressure from Trump's tariffs threats and Huawei's resurgence. Datadog surging on the S&P 500 inclusion. Datadog getting a big lift up there to the 150s. We'll keep an eye out on how this affects different stocks, but really it's just a Datadog push. But this could help also those cyber names just get right back up. Yesterday, CrowdStrike kind of pulled back there. Zscaler pulled back. PanW pulled back. Will these just get another lift? Something to kind of keep an eye out there. Wedbush, though, did raise their price target on this to 170 from 140. So, I mean, 170, they're looking at that resistance and saying, yeah, it can maybe get to a new all-time highs. We'll keep an eye on that Datadog. It's well-positioned as an enterprise demand for cloud monitoring and AI-driven analytics accelerates, said Dan Ives. I think you continue to watch this. Not a bad name. I'm watching Datadog, of course, Oracle, big rip higher, good contract for them. I mean, hey, we're seeing a lot of these names starting to push strong. I think you continue to watch this, see how it goes. Of course, these are slightly different industries, software application, and then you're looking at, of course, Oracle's more in software infrastructure. But I think software overall is the move here. We'll keep watching different names in the space. Trump, of course, announcing the Vietnam tariff deal in a post on Truth Social yesterday. President Trump said that the U.S. and Vietnam had agreed to the new trade pact, 20% tariffs on direct imports, down from April's 46% and from the pause of 10%. 40% tariffs on transit good retailers like Nike, Lululemon, right? We saw those moves yesterday, and Lulu was a crazy one, man. Yesterday, it came up, it dipped, and it actually closed not bad. I mean, it was a crazy, crazy move there. We'll see how these kind of stocks continue to push. Can they continue to push higher? Of course, they're led by Nike's report, and we'll see if Nike can hang on. On is one that I'll be watching to see if that can continue to push also. TripAdvisor is the last one that I'll talk about. TripAdvisor getting a little bit of a jump on a Starboard stake as TripAdvisor jumps 8% here. It says that the activists, and this came from Wall Street Journal, the investor Starboard Value has taken a greater than 9% stake. The stock is up 1.5% year to date, leaving room for the activist-driven improvement. What's next, of course, we'll be watching, of course, to see. We got the jobs number, 1 p.m. market close today, and, of course, Friday markets are closed. That's going to do it for our Sunrise Report. We'll kick things off and get right to the trading action. It's time to start that countdown. I know Michael Noss is ready to trade, and the bulls are roaring. Let's get after this market. Wants 200, baby. You ready to get back to the trading action?
You aim, you shoot, and make money.
It's going to be a great day. You guys know where you're at. What's up, traders? How we doing out there? Let's go ahead. Let's bring on the bull himself, Michael Noss. What's going on, man? How we doing?
Another day in paradise. Another massive gap up. We got Bitcoin ripping. We got Fartcoin.
Get him with the horns. Get him with the horns.
20% Fartcoin couple days, right? Everything is just doing great. It's
just
one
a
of those
fart in the wind, man. Just a fart in the wind.
It feels like at this point, just bears getting run over time and time again. I think what happened.
Irrational exuberance, man.
Well,
I think you told me early on that this wasn't irrational exuberance because we weren't at all-time high. Do you still feel it's not irrational exuberance?
Well, we're up like 5% this year. So fine. I still expect chop. I don't think the people who are saying,
my thing is, did the market just get better? Is that why we're up? Let's say from the bottom, right? Because you got to think about not just overall, right? From the bottom, I mean, it's a pretty massive change, right?
Yeah.
And my big question is, has anything really changed in the dynamics?
Earnings were awesome this year, right? It's I think record earnings for AVGO, Oracle. I haven't looked at the total number now that earnings are done, but a good thing to track is how much money did companies make this year, right?
Yeah.
Did they make more than last year? Well, then the market should be up, and I think that's definitely the case. Now, if you're just talking about the last 6 days, things are getting a bit wild. What I think happened is that you had all the bears come out, and I saw it. It was just crazy. You had one downtick on the Qs. The IWM was up that day. RSP was up that day. The average stock did well, but you had a little bit of downtick in big cap tech, and all the bears said, okay, there's the top. I'm shorting into it. So I think this last kind of push is just them getting completely run over, right? And it's going to continue to happen until that last bear puts up his hands and says, okay, enough. I can't take it anymore. And then maybe we go down for a little bit.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's going to be interesting. I mean, overall, this has been a great move. It's good to see you guys out there in the chat. How we doing, Talk? Talk's been a really great addition lately. Enjoying your kind of contribute and your comments in the chat, Talk. So keep it up, man. It's always good to see you out there. We'll see what happens with Lulu. Man, that was a wild ride yesterday on that report, because it came down and it came right back up. It was just the particulars coming out at that specific moment was just how it goes sometimes, right? I mean, you don't know when the particulars were going to come out, and it just kind of shook things up. I think it just expanded the volatility a little bit too much there, and it was just more of a shakeout than necessarily a down or up move, right? And that can happen, especially when you're getting news, right? That's why they say sometimes go wide, right?
You're getting the algos that just react right off the news. And then generally speaking, you get some more kind of educated people, right? Who are maybe I don't know what percentage of stuff that Lulu takes they get from Vietnam, right? So it was Vietnam tariffs. All the algos are going to hit everything apparel related. And then you're going to get the people who kind of actually study this stuff and know, okay, do they get it from here? Do they get it from there? They'll end up taking their trades a little bit later. It takes a little bit more time to do that research.
That's why I was glad I had already done that research. We had done that research with the original tariff move. So there was about two that I really studied. I studied China names and I studied Vietnam names. And the Vietnam names had to do with all of the apparel and shoes a lot. So that's why I think you saw more on, right? I talked about ANF. And I think this is a good one. I think this is a good trade here, even though we got some I would say, I wouldn't even say worse than expected, because the tariffs are expected to come in, right? It was just a little higher, 10 to 20%. Maybe it's a jump that some people will view as massive. I don't think that's a massive jump. And I think that what it really does is it starts to at least allow the companies to know, right? Before it was uncertainty. What could it change to? So they had to do what? Pull a lot of guidances off, right? A lot of companies pulled guidance because they just didn't know what would actually happen. In this case, ANF, though, if you don't remember, they raised guidance into this.
Mhm.
And there's not many companies in apparel that were raising guidance. So I think we watch
Well,
for that type of move there. It's an
look,
interesting one.
and it's a lot in the particulars, right? So, like, I'm
Yeah.
just looking at Lulu, just down
Yeah.
from its June high. It's down
Mhm.
35%. So
Yeah.
it's one of those, right? If you look from all-time highs, which was right when we started talking about tariffs, Lulu was down 50%. So they lost half their value. So it's not so much about is this news bad or good, is it bad enough that Lulu should have lost half its value? So if they, people do the research and they say no, a 20% tariff means that, right, their bottom line is going to get affected by X, then
Yeah.
is that more or less than the
Yeah,
hit it's taken, right? It's a
let's say
forward.
their gross margins are around 60%, right? And that's
Yeah.
the kind of stuff that they'll look at, right? What are the gross margins looking like now? And what would this adjustment do to them, right? And the people that crunch the numbers, of course, with modeling, you can get a somewhat close approach understanding of the numbers there. And of course, these are still high margin products, right? I mean,
Mhm.
it's not like they're low margin products. So they have some margins to work with. It's not like they're autos. Autos have no margins to work with,
Right.
versus like someone like this, it's selling probably like a $60 shirt that costs them maybe a little bit under $20 to make, right? And so things like that, right? I think
Yeah,
that's
so
going
a
to play in here.
20% tariff would make that $20 shirt to make cost 24. So then, the company's already taken 50% of a hit on
Mhm.
that. So the question is, right, and this is for people who do other stuff than I do to really
Yeah.
figure out is what is the hit, the proper hit. So if you look at,
Yep.
you mentioned ANF, you look at that's gotten creamed recently as well. So from all-time highs,
Exactly.
we're down 50 or 60%. So all of
Yeah.
these companies have gotten the hit of, yes, it makes perfect sense that if bad things are happening, then it should be priced in. But most
Yeah.
of them have already lost half of their value. So the question is, now that they know what the tariffs are, what's
Exactly.
that? It's probably not all-time highs for them, and it's probably not where they are now. It's probably kind of somewhere right in the middle, right?
Hmm. Yeah, and I think these are important. Smoke's mentioning another good one to watch in the peril space with a Vietnam exposure, which is that VFS. Of course, relatively newer one. And of course, a lot of these have like these like big branch ones, right? I'm also looking at like Gap. Did you see the Gap and Gap? Oh, I always love mentioning that one. It's such a good
Mm.
pun, right? But look at the Gap and Gap.
Yeah, it got creamed. Was that earnings? Yeah, got creamed.
But it was on a breakout look, right? And that's that's
Mm.
that's tough for those bulls that were trading that breakout look, right? But my thing is opportunity here. You went sideways, you didn't go back to that low, right? If we were closer towards, let's say, 20 or 19, I'd feel a little bit worse about this. But if you actually expand the trend line from the trend line break, we're starting to recover that. So it could just be a throwback look here,
Mhm.
right? And that's a great opportunity to maybe catch that a huge gap. I mean that would be what we're talking like a 20 to 21% gap fill. We'll
Yeah, and
see, right?
that's the name of the game, is that you look for people to get overdone. Generally, it's way easier to do it to get overdone to the downside.
And a
Um,
change of narrative, right? Because I think that's what Nike did. It changed the narrative.
yeah,
Nike was
so
in the dumpster. Everyone thought that Nike was just going to have a horrible report. Everything was bad at Nike, and all of a sudden, everything's not so bad, right?
and
And
that's
then,
that's generally all it takes. And that was kind of my synopsis for that really good trade I had earlier in the year on China, right
yeah,
around this area, is that it didn't have to be good news, right? But just
didn't
all of
need to
the
be
news,
bad, right?
right? All the news with China was, oh, their housing market's collapsing, and their jobs market's collapsing, and everything's the end of the world. And we know that the news, its job is to scare people, and that's how they
Yeah,
make their money, is by scaring people. So all we needed was no bad news to come out, and then all of a sudden it rips. And we said the same thing too when it came to just the US markets, is that as soon as we were down 25% on the Qs, all we needed was any amount of not bad news so that this
Exactly.
thing could start drifting higher, right? It doesn't need to
And
be great news, just
yeah, now
not
the rotation,
shit.
right? The rotation of the negative narrative. If you had a negative narrative, right, as you approach all-time highs, those get pushed out, right?
Mhm.
You like, it doesn't matter who you are, right? At that point, you have to start pushing those out because like we've talked about here that the exposure right from money managers just has to adjust even if you were for some reason bearish that whole time. Well, now if you don't adjust, you're doing things wrong. And I think that that's what that Nike report, especially in the consumer leisure space, we talked about yesterday how the cruise lines were ripping. I'm looking at hotels. I'm actually looking for areas that haven't gone, especially that's what we're realizing. So look for that narrative adjustment that might have happened in the last, let's say, week or two, right? And then look for an area that all of a sudden is starting to show strengths. And as long as the narrative isn't negative in the space and like just completely getting crushed and it's starting to adjust to more of a positive outlook, I think you'll start to see these kinds of stocks making decent moves higher.
I'll
Um,
be really interesting to see the positioning data when it comes out because, right, as of on the SP 500 anyway,
yeah.
as of Friday, the big guys were still net short. They were net short by 63% short, 37% long, really, really short. So the question is now that we just ramped to all-time highs this week, so this data would have come out right here just as we kind of cracked through all-time highs.
Yeah.
And the ES, the SP 500, has been dramatically outperforming the Qs. And these guys, funny enough, they have been short the ES, but long the NASDAQ. So really kind of getting hit by both sides on not only, their long side, barely long, like just squeaking out 55% long, um, barely long the NASDAQ, really short the ES. And the NASDAQ is up and did fairly well, but the ES just it's exploded higher. And more importantly, I think RSP, so our equal weighted S&P 500, showing that it's not just big cap tech that's moving, it's kind of every stock out there. IWM, massive breakout yet or 2 days ago, huge continuation today, big gap up today. So yeah, big breadth expansion and horrible positioning. To me, that's great. So what I hope to see for the bull case is when the positioning comes out on the weekend, and we'll talk about this on Monday, is that they shorted more. That would be the absolute perfect scenario, because if they're shorting into this all-time high rip, we're going to get some wild action coming up.
Yeah, I think you continue to watch that. I'm looking for areas that are showing that strength. That's why I've been bringing in the different areas, and I'm really focused sector and industry wise of what's really kind of pushing. Interesting for the week, basic materials has just been absolutely on fire. And people aren't realizing this. I talked about it on my Twitter. I put it up, guys. The comparables from materials to the S&P 500, and it's completely outperforming. So I think that this is something that these are the types of things where I talked about it this week, right? How I talked on Trader TV. They asked me, what is the true edge that I can have in the market? What do you look for, Mitch? Well, a lot of times that's not necessarily something that can show up daily, but I think that if you can stay with these types of things, right? Stay with the sectors, stay with the industry, catch things like that. The materials are outperforming the market when there's really doesn't happen often, right? And I think when you catch those types of moves, you can really kind of make some money off of the rotation and looking at that, right? And it doesn't from there, you have to have strategy to go after these names. But I think just finding the groups and being in the right groups just gives you that much higher probability of ending in the green.
And also this percentage, so this is just the weekly so far percentage of all the different sectors and everything that I look at. Look at this WGMI, 30% this week in 7 days. 30% on our Bitcoin miners, just showing that people are really kind of gearing up for a Bitcoin breakout. And this chart looks amazing and looks like we could be getting that today or this weekend. Nice falling channel, whatever you want to call it. Huge breakout on insane volume yesterday, and then a little bit of continuation today. We saw that across the board. We saw Solana really perk up there. It broke its downtrend channel a bit ago and had a nice day there. We had Ethereum. And again, these are my kind of risk off vehicles. A nice breakout in Ethereum. This one looks like this one wants to test those highs. And that's 4,000. Like that's just
I got one to watch with this one, right? Why not continue to watch SBET with this one, right? The one that is doing the primary treasury reserve as Ethereum, right? This one's on watch, guys. Add it to the watch list, right? If Ethereum's going to make another rip out, SBET could definitely be the name that maybe fills that gap itself there. And that's a huge gap to fill within itself right there. You're talking about 112% higher gap, right? I don't know if it's going to fill that, but if you're looking for risk to return, this bad boy is definitely going to be one to watch. Another thing that happened, I think that's really interesting, was that so there was a given outlook that is very important. So essentially, it looks like the CEO of Ethereum overall, the co-founder, leading SharpLink's groundbreaking move for the first ever ETH Treasury Reserve, right? And that is what you want to kind of keep watching here, right? What are the companies that are grabbing ETH? What are the companies that are grabbing Bitcoin? This is, of course, the first major company to use Ethereum as that Treasury Reserve. So keep your eyes on that, right? Something to watch.
That's the thing, right? Is even though we are trading equities, you have to, and we talked about this a lot yesterday, more and more keep your eye on crypto, because there's so many of these companies that are just YOLOing into different cryptos, and you kind of have to know what company is going to be in what crypto, because the beauty, again, at Trade the Pool, you can get massive amounts of buying power for really low prices. And then you're not having to transfer money to some exchange that isn't necessarily insured and trading it there. You can just trade the underlying equity. And if you're someone, right, want to just do an ETHU, or there's a ton of these XXRP is one for Ripple. You can trade all of these different instruments to get exposure, or you can just trade these ones that are YOLOing just into different crypto places, right?
So to add something to that SBET that could push it, it's ringing the bell on Monday. It's the NASDAQ bell, but just putting it out there that it's on Monday, small trading day today. Then it'll be ringing the bell on Monday. Definitely, it got some hype moving, right? That PR. So they put that PR out on the 3rd, and they put it out at 9 a.m. So they just put this out at 9 a.m. So there it is, guys. It's going to get the heightened outlook as Ethereum can run. I think you could look at SBET as being one way that you can trade that trade today. Even Smoke Tuna is like, whoa. SBET looking good there. Got to add it to the watch. It's going to be one to watch. Born to be free. What's going on? How you doing out there? It's good to see you guys in the chat. I'm seeing some good, some faces that I know at least.
And I look at this. So again, WGMI is just Bitcoin miners as a total ETF, looking like it might want all-time highs here, and that's 30. Which, yes, everything. If you zoom in, everything is overextended. We need a rest. We absolutely at some point do, but in the long run, right, any kind of pullback should be buyable until we get to these highs. I think at least.
Trendline approaches, man. I talk about these all the time. I drew this line. When did I draw this? Updated it on the 30th June. We started to watch this. Are we going to go to the trend line? That's when we were trading in this little kind of sideways consolidation. That's why I draw these trend lines, guys, because it seems like they just go right to it, like a magnet almost. And a lot of times what I'll use is I'm not trying to see it go above that trend line. I'm just trying to sell it to it. And if you're selling it to it, how great is that trade, right? I mean, sideways consolidation, looking for that level to come into play. And look how it comes right into it. It's kind of, I see these all the time, guys. Draw your trend line approaches, look for them to run right to them. That's why I'm watching like a name like Bakar. It's a trend line approach type of play. just to give you like a similar type of look, right? You're going to have these looks all the time where you think that it just makes sense for it to come back and touch that. Mara is a great look above 17. We've been waiting for that 17 break, 17 break, 17 break. Yesterday, you finally get that 17 break. So what would I look for today? Slight undercut on that 17, right? Or you can use the, don't feel like you can't use the ETFs, right? You can use the ETFs. I have a tendency of going for the names, but there's a reason why Michael's seeing that and diversifying more with the WGMI. So,
yeah, speaking of this, Wolf is an interesting one. I kind of like this one just because,
semi, right?
well, this is a,
it's
I
the
believe,
Wolf. No,
yeah,
the U one.
Bitcoin mining with nuclear, I believe. If this is the one.
Hold on.
So I think that's, if I remember it correctly. So it's got that kind of combo, the combo fun where it's, right, maybe a little bit of nuclear action, maybe a little bit of Bitcoin mining. I think it's supposed to be like sustainable Bitcoin mining, but it's interesting. Again, I still hate these businesses. They still lose money, but it's going to be one of those things that if Bitcoin is ripping to new highs, it's going to be a kind of grab everything you can. How can I get exposure? Because, right, a lot of places out there, they still can't trade the actual instrument, right? They can't trade Bitcoin itself. And when it comes to large institutions, when it comes to, IRAs, things like that, they're not moving their money to Kraken or even Coinbase in order to place trades. They're going to do it in the traditional equity market. So, right, think MSTR, which this 3-bar pattern is super interesting. Big rip up day, huge down day, and then big rip the next day. But MSTR looks interesting, right? You can play MSTU, and I think there's like an MSTX there as well. So, just think of all these, we could list right now probably 20 different ways to play crypto in the equity market.
Call out I didn't call out MicroStrategy, but I was like calling out somebody that's copying MicroStrategy. These guys
Which
were
one?
on.
There's so
This
many.
guy was on Bloomberg, 21 Capital, and I said, "Should we trust the guy with the empty house?"
Well, there's two ways to look at it. Either he's so busy he hasn't had a chance to move in to anything, or that's like
more
he
like he's
rented the
making
house.
money off you guys, and he's ready to fill in that house with all the money that he's making off of you guys.
Yeah, get a green screen, something. Turn that camera around so it faces a wall. Like there's a million
and the mirror
ways.
Did not make things better. The
It
mirror
just
right
showed
here,
more empty
houses.
Or he's just so rich that, right, he just rents everything. He doesn't need to own.
No, to me that's definitely trust the guy with the empty house. I don't know about that, guys. I think it's just funny, guys. But he's just copying a strategy, right? And he's like, Michael Saylor can do this. I can do this too, right? I can just hold Bitcoin, and I don't think that's strategy, though. In the long run, I don't think that's a strategy, man. But hey,
no, it's a lot of the people that are doing this, right? It's all going to come down to trust, right? Because what's happening, for those who don't know, the guys who are doing this custody thing, it is, I'm going to issue debt and I'm going to buy Bitcoin with that debt, and then I'm going to lend out that Bitcoin in some way to help cover the debt. And it's this circular thing that at some point, I think this whole thing comes crashing down. That's going to tank the market 20%. Bitcoin's going to get cut in half, whatever. At that time, I hope I have cash, because that will probably be the best buy signal that you could ever have for Bitcoin. But when it kind of comes tumbling down, it's not going to be MicroStrategy that's first, right? It's going to be that guy. No one trusts that guy to pay back his debt. With Michael Saylor, at least he can, he can get on TV. He can kind of rally the troops. He could figure out things. So
and the big part of these are also, it's where do you reload, right? What's your reloading strategy? Are you reloading when it's breaking new highs? Well, that could always be a recipe of disaster. There's always like an average price that their like average assets are holding. Like there's going to be a price in Bitcoin, right? And if you get that too high, in one panic move of Bitcoin, the whole company could go caputo, right? I mean, So, hey, we'll see what happens there, guys. I think it's something that is interesting to watch. I more brought it up so that you realize in the crypto space, there's always going to be kind of gurus and furus just like there in the stock game, right? And you have to really do your research to understand what you're getting into. And that's why I wanted to bring it up mainly, because I think it's just important, right? Like my red flags went off immediately when I saw that background. I was like, I don't know, dude. Like, I would have rather have seen you in a basement. Like, I'm spending $0,
Yes.
but I'm gonna get rich on this, guys. Then you telling me you're rich, showing me a house that maybe you can afford, and then now you're telling me to trust you with all my money, man. So that's just the type of things that we see in the crypto space.
Yeah,
Just
and
be careful out there.
it will always happen, right? There will always be grifters every time,
Yeah, they just
new
try to jump
all-time
on
highs
the
happen,
hype. They jump on the hype, man.
right? And
And just be careful out there, guys.
yeah, just make sure it's not you. Again, bubbles are
Yeah.
great. Bubbles are the greatest thing that we could possibly trade. Just have an exit plan for them, right? Just have a
Thank you.
way out.
I think that's the gist of the conversation there, guys. Let's get over there. Market's opening. Let's get after some trades, guys. If you guys see anything you guys want to talk about, throw it up there. I know that we got some tuna alerts that we'll probably be getting after too. And if you guys see any small name moving, I'll try to catch them. I'll be looking around out here. Right out the gates, I'm seeing MSTR make a nice little lift. Q's right out the gates, just going right out the
Here's
gates
the
there.
SPY. Right at that price that it did for
SoFi
the
doing
numbers.
well.
Yeah.
SoFi's on my alert to watch today. It held that 17 pullback really well yesterday, and it's trying to clear 1835s right now. Trying to grab some SoFi, guys. I want this in the day trade account. Ethereum doing well too. That's one to watch, right?
Yeah,
SBET
nice.
is one to watch. It popped to 1440s, just pulled back. I like that pullback there in SBET. I'm going to look for a little bit further decline here, and I might take a shot in SBET.
Yeah, nice break there when it came to
1350s for
just
SBET.
the SPY. Again, everyone was watching this high, so now we just got to watch to see if we close, if we can hold above that high, because that was the news high, right, where everyone's kind of freaking out over whatever farm report or whatever it was. So that's the area that we got to keep an eye on.
There's that 1350s. It was so fast, man. It didn't give me a chance to get in. It was so fast, guys.
Yeah.
Like the SBET there,
didn't.
like there was orders lined up. Remember when I tell you ladder orders? There was a ladder order at 1365. They got filled. It was 10,000 shares, then 5,000 shares at 1350s. And this is why I look at these levels. I was looking for the pullback, but it was a sweep. It was a quick sweep there, man. 15,000 shares just got out at 1397. You don't think that guy bought and sold? He bought the dip, sold the rip, and then he was like, "Oh, it's not breaking 14. I'm out."
Yeah. That's a good day. You're in and out that many shares.
65s, 15,000 shares. It goes up, 20, 30 cents. You're looking for a 14 break. It doesn't go, get out. That's what the guy did there.
Make your couple K, move on with your day into the next trade.
Yeah, I'm looking for it to cut 1350s again. The volume's coming right back in it. You saw how it went up there and went right back down. A lot of volume around the 14, because everyone's watching for that 14 break. That's why I watch for bigger size on the time and sales, guys. It's a big tip that I think is very important to look into. Look at the gap down on SBET there. That's difficult. There's a gap down there. Move. It went to 1330s real quick. Be careful.
Yeah. SPY just held those highs, continuing higher here. No break, no give back just yet. We have IWM underperforming again. So is that the end of the rotation in the small caps? Everyone in the small cap world is certainly been bitten a bunch. So I wouldn't be shocked to see some of these more reactive moves. So I'm actually watching small caps here to see if we can break back up through VWAP. It's been doing well on a relative basis. It's, the gap up is bigger than the other ones, but just intraday, I'm anchoring to this high right here. This is the high from that earning or the farm report right there. So see if we can get back through VWAP on this name with everything across the board.
UMAC leading the drive this morning, all the way up to almost 19 now. Look for maybe RCAT to play a little catch up, but I see that push. I'm looking at RCAT. I can't catch the high flyer. I'll catch the lag play. I'm going to go for some RCAT here and look to see if I can play that off of the UMAC move. Really nice move today.
Yeah, so IWM is continuing with it. That's looking good. Doing some bot battling back and forth.
I'm in RCAT, guys.
RCAT.
So this is just playing off of UMAC. This is not me trying to get pretty with it. This is just leader to laggard. I can't catch UMAC. It already ripped a little too high for me. I don't like to buy highs, so I look for the lag play. Getting a mention of LIXT. I'll take a look into it. Not a bad little break of 3 there as that one went from $2 to 3 really quickly. It actually got to 360s. It's trying to reload around the $3 spot this very second. We'll see if it's able to hold on there. You might get a slight undercut to the 270s. Looking at SoFi there, just hanging out there. I'm watching the names that are leading. Mara right there, right out the gates, guys. Did a dip and move right through the support and right back up. We talk about this strategy too often to miss this one. We missed it there, but man, that was a good one there on Mara. Michael, would that be a trigger on the kind of the system?
Mara, yeah, that's what we're going to be looking for.
Right? And just to kind of give those traders out there the look that we're looking for.
Yeah, the idea, and again, this is going to be once I get the bot going, this will be one, again, we'll need to know which ones to look at in advance, but I think that'll be fine. The idea is that we're looking for the low of 1 bar, which is happening, to be under the pre-market low, which is fine. And then we rip back through VWAP. And as soon as we get that, we get a buy trigger. So that's something that is definitely interesting. I need to redo the bot. That's
long SoFi here, guys. Looking for SoFi rip to a higher. We'll see what happens. I got the swing account risking about $32.
Delete that.
Came back real quick for that SoFi. At the risk like 40, just because it was right on it. See if we get it back up. Saw a big sizing come in there, and it pulled back a little bit off of it. I saw 17,000 shares at 1832. RCAT don't have much momentum today. Yeah, the idea here, Smoke Tuna, is watch the algos picking it up. So Smoke Tuna, it's not that I'm seeing RCAT move, is that I'm expecting a pickup to come in. Archer going red to green now. So maybe look to see if maybe those other drone players start to make the move, like Joby. SoFi just got cut out. SoFi, guys, out of that for about a $42 loss. We'll look to see if it goes back up through the 1840s. Just not going to hold on to it right there. It came right back towards the 1833s.
Just load.
We'll watch for the break on that one. Up $8 on Circle. Circle ripping. Yeah, with Bitcoin going, that's definitely one name you can watch to try to ride the momentum. MSTR also doing really well. Joby starting to go back higher. That looks good there. So there's some names that are doing well. Archer, of course. Coin recovering.
The SPY just going, right? Just
bull, man. I tried to talk about that 11 bull, that bull could get running. Man, it's almost 15 now.
Yeah.
Right? So we were talking about that 11 break all throughout the week this week. Like we got a couple of attempts where it broke 11, came back. Finally, this Monday, it held that 11 really pretty, 1082, undercuts, then breaks that 11 and doesn't look back, right? This was a great play. I hope somebody out there was able to nail some bull.
Yeah, and the question is, right, this 18 area seems doable. It's one of those, if you're trading bull, just take all this, like going back to $80.
Ethereum ripping, guys.
Take it out. Circle filed for a bank charter. Oh, that's interesting. Look at where it's finding support. You can see I have this drawn in. Every time we've gotten to this VWAP from the IPO price, 1, 2, 3,
Long
4,
SBET.
5 times now. There's a lot of support right here. So this would be an interesting swing alert as well, just because you know right where you're wrong. Any sell below 175, it's time to go. And then if this thing starts to make runs at highs, that's an insane risk reward play. And it doesn't look like anything's going to stop here, right? We have the SPY just continuing. This is, we talk about all the time, things that feel buy program. This feels very buy program. Every downtick so far in the markets have been bought. The Qs, not so much. So let's look at the RSP. Yeah, the RSP is taking off. That's our equal weight. IWM, you can see broke VWAP right there. I must have gotten, yes, in my personal account, I did get a fill on that one. Just, again, everything's getting bought. I love the fact that the Qs aren't moving a lot, and IWM and the SPY is. Again, it just shows that it's across the market. We are getting a lot. So that's what we want. We want a broad market participation. The market can go up either way, but for us, it is just way more fun. Okay, darn. All right, so I bought just a little bit of, sorry, cluttering the screen here. CRWV, sorry, bought. Why? Uh-oh. Gotta take a look at that. Shouldn't have. So let me get out of that position right away. Still just trying to play with getting, I've got some support tickets out. Try to get the profit targets and stop losses working. So that's why, again, you guys heard me stuttering a little bit this week. RGC, that thing's still going. Like, holy
That thing's
smokes.
still going, man.
From 10 to 15 today. Just
it's about to get halted.
exploded.
Oh, it just came
Exploded
out
off
of
the
a
gate.
hole. Could go for a second hole. I'd like a pullback to 13s or under here, but man, that thing is strong.
Yeah, Hive. We talked about, yeah, WGMI, the whole Bitcoin mining sector. Everybody feels like they're trying to scoop up exposure, taking the bet that over the long weekend, we are going to get this move in Bitcoin that's going to propel us higher. If you look right here, these are just all the cryptos that I watch. Of course, Farcoin leading the charge because it's just the best one, but everything green. There's not a single crypto that I watch that is red yesterday and today. And then also, this chart is really interesting to me all the time. This is Bitcoin or Ethereum over Bitcoin, and just showing that Ethereum over Bitcoin is moving higher. So Ethereum is relatively outperforming Bitcoin, which is really one of those things that you want to see in the crypto space for risk on behavior, because it just shows there's some action there.
All right, UMAC back at VWAP, so I'll look for RCAT to really start playing in here. Kind of stuck in this SBET right now, trying to manage it. It's kind of moving all around, guys. So trying to manage this SBET. It got close to recovering 13. I needed to recover 13 here. We'll see what happens. It's fast, I'll tell you that much.
So I took a little bit of short here in BBAI, just revert from VWAP to VWAP. Again, the entries are getting triggered automatically. Stop loss and targets, not so much. So
yeah, some good mentions in the chat there. You guys keep getting after it, make that money. Ain't no one gonna be mad at you. Get it, guys. ETHU still holding on, guys. Now 61, got up to as high as 6160. That's a great name out the gates today. Should have been watching some Ethereum. Maybe made the wrong decision when SBET, but hey, I'm going to stay with it right now. We'll see what happens. Ethereum, though, ETHU, especially because it's a 2 times leverage, is doing really well. Yeah, Bull was a beautiful one, man. All right, we'll see what happens with some other names, see if they can get moving there. tightening down on RCAT. It's just not moving anywhere. So I'm just going to lower it down to about $50 risk, especially since I'm stuck in this S bet, kind of moving all around. Looking to see if it gets a recovery. It's kind of like 1, 2, or 3 bottoms. I can't let it break the next bottom.
So yeah, your BBAI working here off the sell. Again, these positions are microscopically small on the trade the pool side. My own personal account a little bit bigger, so we're looking to take some profits just off that because it's moved down so much so quick. And
Lithium
then
name pushing
750
SGML
for the rest.
Lithium name SGML doing really well, guys. Yeah, SGML, some lithium names showing up there. Circle doing really well. It's trying to break 200. It seems like a ton of fast move. It went from 181 to 191. So really good move there.
Yeah, nice push down there. BBAI continuing. Just kind of riding that trend lower, waiting for more signals to come through. I like that it's doing this even though the SPY is coiling back up and looks like it's hitting highs in the days. That's what we talk about all the time when it comes to relative strength, relative weakness, right? We're seeing BBAI good relative weakness, so I'm okay being short that even with the market hitting new highs, right? What we don't want to do is to short strong things if the market's doing well. So we want to short weak stuff.
RCAT starting to come back up. If it breaks like 725, I'll add. This is just based on more if UMAC continues going. UMAC could also be a play here as it's already pulled back.
IWM pulling back a little bit as well. Mid caps holding strong. Qs bounced off VWAP, looking higher. Tesla leaking. Oh, it certainly is.
Yeah, I don't think that's the top watch today for a lot of traders.
No, and it's kind of just
they read
inside.
That. Yeah, they
It's
ran that yesterday. So,
well, you guys also you got to remember the big guys that generally trade these big stocks aren't there today.
Turn around on these miners, at least for Clean Spark.
Right, they're gone. The guys,
Yeah,
a lot of you'll see this quite often, and it's a good thing to note on holiday weeks, shortened days, things like that. You get a lot of small cap action because you have a lot of people who are home from work and degen trading. You don't get a lot of large cap action because the big guys, they're not there to play.
Yeah, that's literally what it is. RGC, can we see 28 today? That's your target? Hey, man, you've been on it, man. We'll wish you the best, man. CEG doing well today. See what happens on that. Let's keep going, guys. Let's try to find some plays. Q staying strong there. That should help some plays out. We'll see how that can continue going. What's red today? Grail, Pony, AEVA, some momentum names. Palantir, still not going green. It could go green here, though. Just trying to recover. AMD still getting dragged down. Zscaler bouncing back a little bit today.
RGC 18 now. Wow.
RGC, man. Well, I mean, it went out of the second halt, right? It's going towards the third halt. Remember, I talk about the third halt. A lot of the times it's not an up halt. It's a down halt. So just be careful here with this RGC on the down halt. If it does go to the down halt, I'll look for an opening, drive down, maybe come shopping on some RGC. after the down halt. There it is. It's coming down. Will it go into the halt? It could do it any moment now if it just drops a little bit further here. We'll see what happens there on RGC. Still waiting for your baseball updates. How are you hitting it? Ah, there you go. What's up, Chip? Yeah, man. I haven't been doing as great this season as I did probably last season. I still haven't hit a bomb. I need to hit a bomb before the end of the season. I'll let you know if it goes through. That's how I rate myself. If I'm not hitting bombs, I mean it ain't worth it.
All right, we're trying again. We have a shortened day to test the spot, so we're gonna try having big chats for a lot of the day with my assistant, Mr. GPT.
I can hear my phone buzzing like crazy. I'll be right back.
Sure. Just quick look on the SPY here. Again, continuing to grind higher. We had one small dip. That small dip was just bought aggressively, and there's just this feels, again, like we talked about, very buy program. So if you are looking to take a short in the market, my opinion is that you look at things that just aren't participating with this rally, and you go take a look instead of trying to short the high flyers, right? The things that are doing well, you go and short those lower type names. One thing that I'm watching as we start to build out this strategy more is this S-bet, where we have undercut this kind of pre-market low right here. We've touched the 2-day VWAP. We've gotten really close. If we grind back through the 1-day VWAP, that could be an interesting play with a stop at that 2-day VWAP. So watching this S-bet, but I'm very much focused, like we're showing here, on things that just haven't been doing well. In like, what aren't they rallying? So like mRNA is one that just came up, right? This is not participating in the rally that we're seeing on the SPY, right? Q's doing okay. SPY is doing phenomenally. RSP, which is the average large cap stock, still doing well. And IWM, again, as always, underperforming. So yeah, if your stock is not participating, then if the market stops and reverses to the downside, that might be one to keep an eye on for potential trade. BTC.
MSTR going higher. That one looks interesting there.
Yeah,
seeing
nice
Ethereum still push. SoFi is right back at highs. I don't know if I'm going to be willing to buy this high, but that was on the swing account. We'll see what happens. It doesn't look bad, but I don't know how much gas it really has today.
Yeah, nice little rip in Bitcoin there, continuing. Ethereum continuing. Solana underperforming. So that's why even though my fart coin's up 8% today, is not moving with lockstep. So this very much looks like a Bitcoin and Ethereum move, with the memes getting a little bit left in the dust here. BBAI, it's just bouncing up to VWAP here.
Trying to see if SPEC can get hot here.
SOLT. Oh, I hit a bunch of buttons on the wrong screen. SOLT. Yeah, 2x Solana ETF. I do really like the look of Solana in the long run, but I'm a relative strength guy and I'm just not seeing it right now. So these lows at 125-ish on Solana have definitely been holding. Every time we hit that, we bounce. And we have this downtrend that we broke. And although it broke first, I would just like to see a little bit of a catch up in Solana today. Bitcoin, obviously the leader. This is the one everyone's in. We're through 110. We're at 110.5. Remember yesterday we were struggling at 108. So holding through that, certainly what we want to see, up 1.5% today on that name. But this is a quick scroll, right? I watch hundreds and hundreds of ETFs. I go through them every night. And 90% of them here are green, except some oil related ones, a pharmaceutical one. Really, really strong across the board. Like we're seeing insane strength in this market.
Yeah.
Q's new high there as well.
Yeah, I remember. I think today might be one of those days where fast trading might lead into a dull lunch. right? Because of the action, right? So it might be one of those days where the first move might be the best move, right? So just stating that, right? I'm not saying that that's your stock right now, but to keep that in the back of the mind, knowing that today isn't going to be a long day, you sometimes got to take the opportunities as they come, right? So here comes SoFi for the break of the 1840s. It's kind of like bouncing right here. It could get taken here. Struggling not to buy it right now on the swing side of things, just because I think that SoFi is one of those blockchain type of names that really could get going. XYZ is another one that I really like, guys. That's recovering the VWAP. Now it's gotten back above VWAP. I really like this name, especially as Bitcoin goes higher. Blockchain keeps getting talked about. I really like this move here. I might take that one. There's SoFi for the break. SoFi just went for that 1850. So I'm keeping an eye on the names that I think a lot of people are watching with cryptos, and SoFi and XYZ fall right into that. Let's see if I can get a little pullback of a swing on block. The big thing for me in block is that it's really starting to make the move, and I'd look to see if PayPal can also do that move. Look at PayPal strong today. PayPal stronger than others.
Here's our heat map. There is not a lot of red on this board, and only a little bit of gray, which again is up or down, kind of 1%ish, or 0.5%. So yes, everything is on fire today. I'm taking a couple trades, right? I like my BBAI short because that's just not participating in this rally. I'm very much kind of sitting in my hands on the swing side of things because I own like I talked about with you guys, a little vulnerable moment. I went to the bank, took out a line of credit, YOLO'd that in about 15% ago in the market, and just trying to hold.
Bank's ripping, guys. Bank's doing really well today. Financials doing really well. Bank of America, nice looking chart there, guys. Nice recovery at 49, going stronger. I know we don't trade the banks too often, but
you can always do like an FAZ and an FAS, right? If you want to get some bank exposure, you want a little bit of a kick behind those. Those are 3x leveraged, right? So if the banks go up 1%, that will rip 3% that day. That's a good way to get a little bit of a juice there. I'm watching this core weave as well. I don't like that it's not participating with the rally, but it's holding the 2-day VWAP. And if it looks like it's going to get through that 1-day VWAP, I might take a shot. But this is one of those days I'm okay taking not a lot of day trades because it's shortened day, like Mitch said, probably going to go into doldrums pretty soon. And as someone who is long on margin and long on borrowed money, I am very, very happy just that everything's ripping. So this is why I think multiple time frames is good, right? There's times that swing trading sucks and the market's not going anywhere, and that's why you day trade. And then there's times that the market is ripping, and if you have a lot of swing trades on, you're just letting the market make you the money.
I agree. I think that's the important part here, guys. And we'll see what happens with the trades out there. Definitely, it's an interesting open here. A lot of some strength. Not seeing much pullback. So if your stock isn't showing strength, sometimes it might make sense to look at what's going on, right?
And that's a really good thing. That's a good point to bring up in the long weekend, right? So you've got a long weekend. The market has done this. We're now on day 8 or 9 of not being able to break the prior day low, which is just insanity, right? We need a down week at this point, at some point very soon, just to be healthy. Go through your portfolio on the weekend. Do you have a dog, like a stock that's just not doing anything? It's dragging down your whole portfolio. The market could not be stronger. And if your market's not moving, if your stock's not moving, you got to take a hard think about that on the weekend and say, hey, is this a name that I want? Could I have sold this thing and put that money into anything else that has ripped? Because the entire S&P 500 pretty much is doing well here.
All right, guys, going to set my risk in a second there on the 5-minute low of the SBET here. Looking for it to come back to the 13, but if it doesn't go back to the 13, I have a feeling it'll go back to the 12. So you got to be careful here if it starts to turn around against me.
Bot just took a Tesla long here.
Nice.
As it broke back.
Tesla.
That should be a short. Something's going on. Oh, it's probably because okay. We'll get this sorted, guys. I got a whole bunch of support tickets out. The people who made this connecting service are going to get real bored of me real soon with the amount of questions I'm going to ask them. But we'll get it figured out.
Really nice recovery of on XYZ's block. Another support break, another VWAP recovery. We keep seeing the strategy that we see working often right now. All right, in a second, I'm going to actually throw out my stops. So this is when I start to get to the point where it's like, SBET needs to go right here. I'm like right on this level too. My break even's right on this. So I'm at the point where it's like go or I just got to cut it.
I'm thinking too hard. I'm going to pause. I'm going to pause the building of these things and look at it on the weekend, the long weekend.
Yeah, that's another good thing, right? Sometimes
Right.
is if you feel like it's boggling, taking some mental capital, you're not understanding. Just take it easy, guys. Take it easy.
Yes, and for the love of Pete, right? Nice long weekend at what, a 3.5 day weekend. Get away from the screens for a bit, right? Go outside, touch some grass, hug a
You know
kid.
what? It
You
might be
know,
the day. It might be the day where I give up some monetization. Looks like we're gonna have to take a little bit of a copyright. Might have to play some music in the background.
yeah, take oh, there's core weave. So this is interesting, and this is going to be
Or weave.
bought a little bit there. And this is the setup that I'm looking for as well. As I want a pullback to the 2-day VWAP that holds. I need to learn how to kind of systematize this, and then a break through the prior day VWAP. We talked about that. I'd be interested in this one SBET as well if it ends up getting through there. The reason for this is that I'm looking for, once the first strategy that I've kind of been building with you guys the whole time is fully systematized. I just put them in a robot and let it go for the day. You're not done, right? It's time for strategy 2 and 3 and 4. And again, I've talked about, I know very successful 9-figure day traders who run 40 plus strategies. And I don't think I'm going to be there anytime soon, but you always got to be looking at the next one. And I think one of the ones is quite a bit what we talked about today. What was Mara that Mitch brought up? An undercut of the pre-market lows and then a rip through VWAP, right? Your purchase would have been right here at 1767, and then it went up to 1820. That's an amazing, like 3% rip.
Yep.
So that's a great trade. Get a couple of those a day, fully systematized. That's a nice life. And yes, bull new highs here.
Yeah, that was one that I should have kept an eye on. And this is how it goes sometimes. One thing is I have a lot of eyes on so many stocks. Sometimes I'm going to be able to keep an eye on one, and you guys have to make your decision if you want to trade it, right? I'm not going to be able to catch everything unless I, just go crazy trading in systems also, because it's not going to catch every trigger either, right? And so the part of that is I sometimes, and I think as traders, we also got to give ourselves a pat on the back on just being in the right area. Don't let it defeat you because you didn't catch it, right? More let it reinforce what you're looking for, right? And that's how I was with bull. I don't let those get me mad. I get to the point where I'm like, okay, you're doing something right. How can you catch this the next time, right?
Yeah, and it should very much be a the worst thing you can do is miss a trade and then go do something stupid in another trade, right? It should be you make a note and you say, how could I do this better? Alerting,
Exactly.
setting orders, right? Bots, things like that. But it's you don't want to, I missed a trade and then revenge trade or hop in something else or do something crazy like that. Again, I speak from experience. Anytime I tell you guys not to do something, just assume that I've done it and it hurt. So I'm telling you guys not to do it for that reason.
Exactly it, man. I've done it. I've learned the lesson, and I don't want you to learn that lesson. It's an expensive one.
Well, it's like kind of with, right? So my kid's 3 now, and he's just doing stupid stuff for the sake of doing stupid stuff. And he's like, running with a giant stick. And I'm like, don't do that. And he's like, why? I'm like, We can sit down and talk about it, but just know I know how this ends, right? I know how revenge trading ends. I've been there. I've done dumb stuff. Don't
Yeah, man.
you, you you can listen to us so you don't have to do it and have it cost you money yourself.
Yeah, no, it's completely right. I think and I think we're gonna have some interesting conversations about our boys.
Oh yes,
Oh man.
they are
Uh
programmed to
especially
harm
young.
themselves.
Especially young, right? Like they start off like even more dangerous. Oh
Yeah,
man.
it's weird that it's programmed in us to tempt. It's every time you see him, you get that quote of "This is why girls live longer than boys." And he's trying to jump down the slide instead of using it, and
Yeah.
yeah, crazy stuff. Spy just cannot stop. So this market becomes really hard to trade when this is happening. You either own something and you're riding the wave.
Yeah.
You're doing what I'm doing, which is searching for relative weakness, right? So again, like the BBAI, it's a little bit above VWAP now, but still relatively weak. You're doing something like that, or you're sitting out, right? What you don't want to start doing, in my opinion, is chasing longs at this point, because the market's only got a couple hours left. So
Yeah.
that afternoon doldrum will happen faster. There's less people at the desk. You're going to see crazy moves in lower cap stocks, probably nothing wild. You could just see a trend continue like this, but these half days, low volume days, you just want to make sure, and you don't want to screw anything up before a big long weekend, right? That's not
Yeah.
fun.
And also, if for any reason you could also like a lot of times, like let's say for like my RCAT trade, I started with a $50 risk, right? But the stock hasn't moved. But I also don't want to end the trade because UMAC isn't looking horrible. So I'm just more like, okay, well, I'm just tightening down the risk. I went from a $50 risk, now I'm down at 25. If I get that haircut, it's such a small haircut, I can just let it go.
Mhm.
And sometimes I feel like if I'm in the trade, I already made the decision of being in it. Just stick to the risk to return at that point.
Yep.
Um, and if you're taking the trades based on risk to return, don't stress either, right? Sometimes you're going to have a winner, sometimes you're going to have a loser, and that's just the way that things go.
Mhm.
Let the stocks tell you versus you trying to like guess everything and get it all right.
Yeah, and these other alerts that you see pop up that I don't talk about too much, this just has a lot to do with other systems that I'm building. I'm planning on once the bot works, launching 6 systems, so we'll have 8 in total. Again, my goal is to never have a moment where I don't hear that beep that I'm out of buying power. I want to just express it across enough instruments that have edge, and then go from there. And this is something I talk about a lot. There's a lot of things that you've heard that are 100% true when it comes to discretionary trading that are not true at all when it comes to system trading. So like overtrading is not a thing for systems trading. It's a thing for discretionary trading. So if someone says, hey, overtrading is bad, they're not wrong. They're just talking about a different type of trading. They're talking about one that you
Yeah.
have to make decisions. When the bot is making decisions, there's no such thing as overtrading. You want to be overtrading. You want to be trading as much as you possibly can at all times.
Q's is going higher, man. The move might have been to TQQQ.
Yeah, just
I mean, look at that. It's a
play the
nice,
index.
strong uptrend, right? And what's really kind of leading this move, right? I know I'm not catching it, but somebody might. Let's take a look at the Qs, see what's leading. Leading MongoDB, MDB.
I remember liking that chart.
It's a good push there.
Oh yeah, pull in to fill the gap here.
There's going to be a theme.
got
There's going to be
room.
a theme we're going to see right now, right? I always like to catch themes, guys. This is very important. This is the gold, right? When we look at the leaders today, what are we seeing? A common trend. MDB, but then the next one up is team, TEAM. Look at the action. Look what it's in. Software application, software infrastructure, CrowdStrike, software infrastructure, straight up. Fortinet, software infrastructure, straight up. PanW, software infrastructure, straight up. Datadog, software application, straight up. Intel, semiconductor, finally something different, right? But this is what I think is important. You saw all that trend, software. We've been talking about how software was going to be the next AI play. What's after Intel? Another software name, Workday, Zscaler, another software name, Trade Desk, TTD, big move there. I like this TTD because it's at least another beaten down name with a huge gap to go to, another name that has been completely destroyed coming back. Autodesk, software application. You see how there's a theme there, right? In what? That's 11. So not 10 out of the 11 top names in the Q's move right now are in the software space. Theme there, right? This is where I think there's edge there, right? Because if you know to look at software and you know how many names are in software, if you had a list of those 10 names, right? I'm not saying that you had those perfect 10 names, right? But if you had a list of those and you traded those 10, what are the odds that you end in the green? Way higher, right? Like high probability of trading the right space at the right time. That's why I think rotation is so important. That's why I think it's so important to follow the industries and the sectors. It's just going to increase your probability of falling in the green, right? And I'll say it like that, falling, because it's still chance, right? But at least you have a higher probability. And I think that's so important, especially for swing trade outlook. If you're trying to catch like an industry-wide move, maybe you're catching an ETF, maybe you're catching a name, but you want to be seeing the whole industry also lifting. Oracle is the leader right now, I think, in the software move, but others are going to follow Oracle. And Oracle is just killing it.
Yeah, and it's we talk about it all the time. These guys should be the beneficiaries. If AI is going to be a thing that is going to make a lot of money, it's already made the money for Nvidia. It's never the guys who build the physical thing who ends up being the best benefit of a software, right? It generally speaking has to be a software company. So we have to start seeing different companies saying, yes, AI has saved me. You know, we didn't need to hire this many, or we were able to lay off people as much as we don't like layoffs. But, you know, it's one of those things. It kind of, our workers are this much more efficient, right? This is a lot of people are watching now a stat that's interesting, which is just how much profit the company makes over how many employees it has. And you want to see that number grow, because it just says that these employees are now more efficient. They make more money.
Yeah.
And because of AI.
And the fun part is now is, of course, just looking for employee cutting. And because you're going to see tons of it, guys. That's why it's another scary thing. I don't know if you've seen it, but the trend is serious of cutting workforce for AI. I know a lot of people are like, oh, no, AI is not going to take your job. No, it definitely is. If you're not a skilled worker, you're going to get your job taken right underneath your feet.
Well, and as much as that will suck and will be unfortunate for a lot of people, it's like we kind of need it at this time too, because we know that we have this inverse population pyramid where we're going to have tons and tons of people retiring and not enough people born to replace those people that are retiring. So
yeah, that's a big aspect to keep in mind, right?
And thankfully that those two things are kind of happening at the same time, that we don't need the amount of people that we would in order to do the work, because we don't have that many people anymore. So you got to figure both sides of that.
BMNR, nice pop, man. Oh my God. I told you guys, be careful with the shorts on this thing. This thing could get to 100. I was kind of saying it tongue in cheek, but at the same time, look at the action now. Held to 50 yesterday, $50, such an important spot. Now at 83. Remember, we started looking at this stock right here at $14. That's where I'm going to try to do more and more of these swings, right? This swing was awesome. And we caught it early. It's not like we caught it late. We were all here looking at it at 14. You had to make a shot. You had to call your own shot, right? I was talking about how the spread was really wide. You needed to kind of ladder in. But man, imagine if you had 14 and this thing's 88. now, right? I mean, you know, you don't expect that reward. I think
Nope.
sometimes these plays, you need to almost think infinite reward and what's the risk I'm willing to risk, right? So in this case, it could have been, okay, I'm willing to risk 200, 300 of my capital to see if this trade works out. I'm going to put it on here. I know exactly where my risk is. Let's see what happens. That's how people catch these types of trades. They're willing to define their risk and take the shot.
Yeah, you treat it like an option, right? And you trade
Yeah, like an
small.
option.
You kind of assume that if you're wrong, you're going to lose anywhere between 50 and kind of 75% of whatever you invest, and you go nuts
Mhm.
because yeah, I would look at, oh, I'm only going to put $1,000 or $2,000 into BMRN. That's crazy. It's like, yeah, but at 5x, you put 2,000 in, you're taking 10 grand out right now.
Exactly.
So you
Exactly.
don't need that much. So you end up risking $500 to make $5,000. Then you don't need to be accurate very often. You nail a couple of those, a
Yeah,
month.
man.
You're a happy camper. And there are a couple of them a month out there, and those are
Yeah.
what I'll see. And you guys know I hang out mostly with systems traders. They'll still do stuff like that. They have their systems running. They're churning out money. They're doing okay. And then every now and then they see something like that, and they go, okay, I'm just going to take 1% or less of my capital and just put it into this guy. And if I'm right, I'm going to get 10% of the capital out. And if I'm wrong, then it's fine. I'll just keep letting the bots do what they're doing.
All right. Trying to stay in this XYZ. Might get cut out through the 69.25s here. It just dropped there. So about to get out in this one. XYZ catching me a little bit here. Trying to get out. Trying to see if I can get a little bounce to get a little bit less of a loss there, but putting out the stop right underneath it. But at the same time, if I see it bounce a good amount here, I'll just probably exit out on the bounce there. It came and got me. Boom. Took a little bit more of a loss there on XYZ that I wanted today on the swing account, down about 161. Lost about 115 on that one. Wanted to lose like 80 to 60, but it slipped really fast between 69.30s and 69 here. So quick pullbacks coming in here. So watch out, guys. Now, I did catch in the chat that NVIDIA mentioned you have it up right now.
Mm-hmm.
I was watching AMD off that NVIDIA move. So AMD and NVIDIA leads, AMD lags. So I'd look for AMD to play catch up now. So this is how I play relationships, right? And I think this is another way to catch trades, right? I talk about you can't catch the leader. Look for stocks that go similar with it.
Is Intel even gonna? No, never mind. Intel still sucks.
No, the Intel, I mean, they gave you really negative news. It's positive for right now, but it's a real negative long term. That's how Intel has a tendency of doing. They'll give you some good news, but it's really in the long term, sucky news. So what they're doing is they're trying to, and this is rumors right now, they're trying to adjust their business to focus on a further out generation platform so that they can try to like one up NVIDIA and other companies and try to get their platform made now versus later. But this will restrict them right now and actually cause a huge write-off. And that's the concern for the company, is that, yeah, it might make things look better for the growth outlook moving forward, but it also creates a huge negative on the next earnings report that could come with a massive write-off.
Yeah, and it's very hard for a laggard to leapfrog to become a leader again. The best you kind of hope for is that they catch up back up, right? That they start, not sucking would be great, and maybe that's enough to lead it for a nice little bit of a bounce. But yeah, I don't think it's going to be part of this. This MU is interesting though. This is a nice looking daily chart with a nice kind of controlled pullback, right?
You got to look for strong tech names. Strong tech names. I think those are the ones you're flying with, and you keep flying with those. NVIDIA's part of that. Micron's a part of that. AVGO is a part of that, right? Even though it's pulled back, look how it goes right back up today, right? So I know that you're all about that, staying with the leaders right now. Mm-hmm. You have to stay with the leaders in tech.
Yeah, so anything that's holding up nicely would be great, but it's part of the problem is if you're a leader by now, by definition, you have to be overextended because the whole market's overextended. So if you're leading the market, you're overextended. If you're lagging the market, it's like, why couldn't you rip when the market was doing this insane run? So again, it becomes very hard to make new purchases for me personally here. It's just
I
ride
think
what
like
you
an
got.
AVGO that had the little pullback helped it. That pullback that we got just recently should help some RSIs be closer towards 60s and 50s than, let's say, closer towards 80s and 90s. So when you're looking at some of these tech names, look at those RSIs. NVIDIA, let's check on the daily, 71. Just recently dropped down a little bit from around 80 to 70s, right? Those little small sideways or small days where it pulls back, that can really drag the RSI and actually give it a little bit of juice where it can just kind of reload and keep going. AMD, 74. So they're not in the hundreds, right? Let's see Palantir, 50. You see how it went from literally 83 back down to 50. This actually helps it, right? It helps it. It gives it the ability to come down and then maybe use that level to just come right back up to 148. We'll see what happens with that one.
Yeah,
Good
this
mention
one's
in the chat.
interesting.
Did you catch the chat comment? Let's talk some Palantir and then we'll go to the chat comment. I think that someone
I was
said a
just
really
gonna
good
say
comment.
right where it's stopping makes perfect sense, right? It sees prior highs, broke out, pulled back. If it consolidates here for a while, I think you could see 150 pretty soon on Palantir.
Yeah. Real quick, right? Chat coming in with a good conversation. I think this is a really interesting one. Someone talking about how I think we're in the very beginning of the software revolution. My professor told me about AI at the end of my software engineering. We probably don't know what we are really dealing with. And I think that's the truth. We're just opening that can of worms, right? They say like that, right? Well, the truth is there's a lot there to take, right? That's why I'm so a proponent of not focusing as AI as these large language models. That was just like the first thing that came out of it. But now it's all about what's being built from that, right? What's getting actually created towards what I call bottom of the line revenue driving products, right? That's what I want to focus on, because a large language model, like let's say like even OpenAI, it has made money, but it's not the same thing, right? Like you're not seeing Microsoft get this huge boost because of Copilot, right? That's not what I think is going on, at least for the revenue driving side of things. But now we're going to take this whole new step where I think you'll start seeing, especially these software companies coming out with products left and right, and that's going to really drive a big move. And then definitely the engineering side of things, you don't need that many coders anymore. It's different. It's a different environment now.
Yeah, they call it vibe coding now. The kids do, which I guess is what I'm doing. Where you've got your microphone turned on, you're just talking to the AI, it's talking back to you, it's building some stuff out, and you go. But no, the ramifications, we have no idea. And anyone who tells you they do, just dismiss them entirely. It's the same, when we invented electricity, like the initial thought was, oh, we got lights. That's cool. We can do whatever, and didn't expect everything that came out of it. Same with the internet, right? When we invented the internet,
I think this is very similar to
wasn't.
the internet.
Yeah.
I think this is very similar to the internet. It's like search all over again, right?
Yeah.
I mean, think about it. That's why I compare it to the internet, because I'll compare the internet more to just search overall, right? And I would say this is the next level of searching, right? Like before, you used to Google everything, and literally Google became a verb, right? I Google it. But now you say what? I chat GPT that, right?
Yeah,
You even hear Michael say it, right? I chat GPT that, right? Well,
I
it's a
don't go to
new
Google at all anymore. It's crazy how quickly something that you would use
and it felt
tons
like
of every
monopoly,
day.
right? It felt like a monopoly for a little while there. Like it felt like you couldn't get away from Google.
Yeah.
Now you most definitely can.
And then now I have my pro ChatGPT account, and I use that it's the first app I launch when I launch my computer every day. It's the last one that gets shut down. It's the there's just it's insane. And I know, just quickly, say there's something out there that was twice as smart as ChatGPT, I would leave them in a heartbeat. There's no loyalty and no brand.
No loyalty. I
Right.
agree with you. That's why I use them all, right? You should be able to use them all. and find which ones work for better task, right?
Yeah, I used that DeepSeek for a minute when it had that deep reasoning, and then ChatGPT copied it. I went back to that, and it's just whoever has the best product is just going to win so
The battle.
much,
Yep.
right?
And it's going to change. It's going to each model changes, right?
Mm-hmm.
There was a second there that I thought ChatGPT was trash. I'll be honest. For a little while there, it started becoming really trashy. I don't know if it was just the Model 3 reasoning or something. I even had the paid version, and I was like, this is not worth it to me right now. So I just cut the paid, went back to the free, and then now it's completely different than what it was even like, let's say 4 or 5 months ago. So got to keep doing it, man. Keep learning. All right, catching out there. Ready Player One incoming. Yeah, coming soon, man. Coming soon. That's why Apple needs to focus on their Vision Pro, but that's what I think.
I am all. I played with one. In its current state, it's just too uncomfortable. But man, because my buddy had one. He's got a MacBook, and just having this giant screen in front of you, he was pegging things in space. So like every time he would look over there, it was. I'm all in for the whole AR thing. I'd love to just have. I'm wearing glasses anyway. But yeah, there's a lot of technology that has to go to make it small and light and something that you can wear and not look like a doofus and all those things. So
I don't even think it's so much for the doofus look. I think it's the applications themselves.
When it was really uncomfortable, I wore it for probably half an hour.
I think if the experience was that much greater, you would get over the uncomfortableness, Michael.
Maybe, but
at first, right? At first, it's like, let's say consoles overall got bigger and then they went smaller, right? Like computers too. I think this will be the same thing. It starts as an uncomfortable thing you're wearing, but if the applications get so good that people just want to spend more time in it, they'll find a way to make it more comfortable, right? But if they're not spending the time in that world, immersed in that world, they're not going to spend the money to do that adjustment to the comfort part, right? And I think that's where we're going to. If you look at, like, I use the Meta, the goggles, the Meta Oculus as the real kind of example. It's starting to get more pickup as the games get better. The first games were straight trash, guys. It felt like you were in, like, a 1990s arcade, right? And if you're in a 1990s arcade, but I'm just viewing it in the goggles, that doesn't make me turn over. But come out with a Vision Pro, or let's say a Grand Theft Auto on Vision Pro, right? Come out with something like that. Watch how people shift over real quick. Come out for a real, like, Sims environment, or real cities, and you can walk around real cities, and you can own the metaverse and things like that. That's where we're going to. I know that people hated it on the metaverse. At some point, we're going to get a metaverse experience.
Oh yeah, it just has to be good enough. Again, I'm all for the AR stuff too, right? The games you could play,
RGC,
right?
just continuing.
I know I'm bringing this thing up.
Remember I said after the third down hole, watch for the down move and then the lift off. Literally did the move. I just didn't trade it. But 3 holds. What was the third hole? Down hole, reopened, cut through the low, right back up, right? So this is a common one that I see a pattern, and you guys can write this one down. 3 holds after the third hole is a down move. And after that third hole, you're looking for big volume to come back in and drive the stock right back up. So it's a common pattern being played by especially penny stock traders. That's a crazy move.
It's funny. As we're having this conversation, I thought of something, and I actually cranked up my ChatGPT model to 03, and I'm giving it the problem again. It's thinking a little deeper, and that's the cool thing about it, is sometimes you can, and this is, again, I think a lot of the future of AI is that there's different models that are better at coding. There's different models that are better at problem solving, and I'm kind of stuck here with building out this bot. And I can just go back and I can try. Sometimes I take it from one and give it to the other, and then talk smack about the first one. So I'll like take code from ChatGPT and give it to Claude and say, man,
I
ChatGPT
love doing that.
can't figure this out. What's its problem? And it goes, oh, well, I found then you give that one to Perplexity, and then you give, right. So
I
yeah,
love that.
definitely.
I love that mention. I think that's a great way to do. Great way to do it. Great way to do it, guys. And I do the same thing. I'll make something on one, and then I'll bring it to the other, and I'll be like, check this out and improve it. And it usually does.
Mm-hmm.
It usually does. It's like refining, right?
Well,
I have one smart friend when you can have 3 or 4, right?
I treat them like my assistants, right? And
that's what they are.
You know, and it's, if you had a couple assistants and they're always checking each other's work, it's just going to make the work that much better. And again, that's always the goal, is how can I make this the job that it's doing that much better? So the only trade I've got on the go, the only one that worked successfully across kind of the bot and everything today, is this BBAI. There was some other ones taken, but they were in the wrong direction. I figured that out I put on my big thinking hat. I figured out what that problem was, and then went. And again, this is the benefit. For now, it should superpower you, right? I didn't completely replace. I didn't say, hey, do this for me and walk away, right? We're debugging this thing together.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, as we continue to build it out, it's going to be more and more the same. Again, I want, I usually use the voice applications when I'm not talking to you guys, because I'm doing something and I'm talking to the machine at the same time, and it's doing something else. mRNA is another one that I miss, but this would have been a couple good shorts here on this guy. And I think this is a great one to potentially take a short on. It's up 3 days in a row. It filled this gap right here. It's just garbage stock in general. So I'm looking for things that aren't participating. But take a quick look at the SPY here.
Yeah.
This is why we've been talking so much smack. We're kind of not doing anything. So this might be an earlier lunchtime, because we have the shortened day. So everything gets condensed, and it could be it for the day. So just be careful. Don't go swinging too hard.
I'm looking a little bit into the healthcare space. Tempest AI looking pretty interesting. Tempest AI starting to come back. Of course, that one's been on a daily pullback, but starting to get a little love on that bounce. Look for maybe stocks. This one. They're still playing catch up.
All right, this is the VWAP from the beginnings. This is the average price of people from the beginning of the life of this company, and it's been respecting it really well.
Yeah.
Every time it hits, and it's right back a little bit above that, but it's right back there now. So that might be an interesting place to take a shot at.
Reversals of trend. Man, the CF and the MOS trend has been a really interesting one, and for those Canadians,
mm-hmm.
It's just an interesting one for sure. IonQ, how's that doing today? Not doing well. Man, that was a quick trap out the gates. IonQ puts a lot of trap candles. Be careful with that opening on IonQ. I've seen this too many times.
Well, that would be the opposite. That would be a short play for what we look at here, right? With this next setup we're building. Big spike, broke through pre-market high, short it as it closes down through VWAP. A nice little trend.
It's a trap. It's a trap.
So
yeah, those are tough candles, guys. So that's why I think it's important to always, when you're playing the opening, not always thinking that you have it like perfectly picked. Because like I know that I'm sure there's a lot of traders that saw that opening drive, probably bought back when it came back to VWAP. You got to be willing to let it go sometimes. That was a quick spike out the gates there. Yeah, went up to 45.50s, pulled back, hit the 44.12 spot in the next minute. So that's tough. And I've seen IonQ do this often. I say on the IonQ, you really look at the hourly. This one has a tendency of moving closer towards hourly charts than short-term time frames. So sometimes stocks just look better on deeper time frames. So find the time frame where the stock looks the best or trades the best. So it holds support, break resistance, right? Those types of things. If it's choppy on the 1 and 2, get out of the 1 and 2, right? So go looking at the hourly, and you just might see that it goes to resistance and it goes to support, goes to resistance and goes to support. You can see a lot of that on IonQ. It's like in this little channel right here on the hourly, and then you can play that channel, right? You can just
Interesting
wait for it to come back down in the bottom end of that channel.
pullback here in Bitcoin.
Yeah, Bitcoin's been an interesting one today. It did make an up move, but now it's starting to pull back, right?
Yeah, that 110 area. We've hit that a couple times, pulling back. I'll be interested to see if this rallies a little later. I mean, you guys start blowing up stuff with fireworks, having a couple beers in you. Maybe start buying Bitcoin a little
that's
bit.
when they try to make it go, right? When everybody's drunk and they're like, "Oh, well, I'll go buy Bitcoin now."
Yeah, why not? I'm all sauced up, and it's funny, but I've noticed, and it's purely anecdotal, but Bitcoin always seems to run at like the strangest times, where
Oh yeah, it's a overnight runner.
weekends and overnights and that type of thing. So
Start the run at 3 a.m. on a Saturday. It's like,
we see
what degenerate got this thing started? But oh well, it started. So here's Rigetti starting to make a little move off the 13. We'll see if that one can move. It just had it on the radar out there and starting to get a little lift off that 13. Maybe you get QBTS to start moving with that. Yeah, very similar. So that's how I relationship trade a lot of the times, guys. If I see one name in the relationship going, I'll take a look at the relationships to see, is it an overall move, right? Do we see multiple names? BMNR now 97. Can we get to 100? Can we get to 100? Will BMR break 100 today? I'll have to wait and find out, but it's pretty damn close.
At this point, probably, yeah.
97 on the hammer. And that thing's been a straight rocket ride, man. Very few pullbacks and no halts.
Yeah, that's actually really well. I think it volatility adjusts, doesn't it? So it realized after the first couple days of it going crazy, I think it volatility adjusts and says, "Oh, this one's just a crazy one." So it requires more of a insane move in order to halt.
Yeah, man. And this thing's been a crazy ride. How's RGC? Another crazy ride, right? And so what happens a lot of the times, if a name like BMNR starts, they go looking for the next one. I think that's why RGC got started in the first place. So they're just trying to ride that momentum, and they're going for a stock that can do this style of move. RGC definitely being one of those, right?
Well, and like we talked about, they're away, right? The big guys are away. The boss is the hedge fund manager, the dude in the suit. He's gone. So
dude in the suit.
You know, a lot of you get a lot of degens that are home right now that are either trying to make a go at trading or just play when they're not at work. And you'll see that quite a bit on these half days. You'll notice the same thing around, like, say, Christmas time and Thanksgivings and things like that, where you get these weird half days. Not generally a lot of movement in the underlying market. However, we are just seeing the SPY break to new highs right here and now. But you get a lot of movement from like the craziest stocks out there because these guys want to make their money, and they can trade the market now where they normally are sitting in a job or doing something else.
Name is doing well today. Expedia talked about how you start to look at those names and changes of trends. That's a change of trend right there. Expedia, EXPE, moving with Trip off of Trip's report of some potential buyout rumors. Oh no, it's not buyout rumors on Trip. It's Starboard activists. If Starboard's willing to take Trip, I'd take a look at Expedia. That's why you're seeing that lift off in Expedia. It has nothing to do with Expedia.
Well, it's funny you say
they're willing to take it.
Saying 112 next. Now there's a funny, and this is just one of these old man sayings, is that they used to call it the $100 roll, and that was the first time the stock went to 100, you would generally target 120, and it's just one of those things I've never tested. Probably doesn't have any validity in the real world, but that's just what, like, if you get a bunch of old man traders in the room, they have this saying, right? The first time a stock hits 100, you buy it, and then you put your target out at 120, and it hits that in the number of days. So that's a very common thing. The idea is it's just a very psychological number. You can have these thrusts when it gets through that But
BDS strong, man.
this one's already been thrusting.
Um,
I've heard crypto gets more
QUBT?
active on off days. I think it's a couple things with crypto, especially a little less now, but more in the past, where you'd have crypto move because degens are bored. They're gonna be placing trades, and then also you have a lot less of the institutions that would do something sensible, like take profits.
Yeah.
So you get these insane sustained moves because you have a lot of amateur traders that just kind of FOMO and chase highs and chase highs and chase highs, and you don't have the pros that go, okay, well now we're actually going to sell some because the thing's moving higher, right? And then so Monday will come around, the market will open up, the futures open up, all the products we've been talking about all day open up, and then the professionals see that overnight gap and they take some profits on it. So that's my theory. But again, with these things, you can know that the event occurs, but you can never know why, because you can't ask the people why they bought, when they bought.
Yeah.
But that's a part of my theories. That's professionals, amateurs chase highs, professionals, right, sell at highs, professionals have plans for that kind of thing. So I just think you get the crazier action when the real big money, the real professional guys are gone, right?
So I have the alert for what could potentially turn this market. I think Michael would know the answer. What could potentially turn us, Michael? What would you
Yeah, I
guess?
mean, a lot. Godzilla at
I
this
love
point.
it. I love it. I love it. I love doing questions like this. What about the TLT? Ugly day today, man. You seen that?
Yeah, and that's going to
Pretty
cause
ugly.
TNX, right? So rates are creeping up here a bit. Rates
Everyone's
are important.
worried. I'll kind of fulfill the audience because they might not know it. If you look at the talking heads, you just turn on CNBC, you turn on all of them. They're all worried about how the bill going through will affect the rates and the TLT. And they're scared about it because they think that this is driving the deficit higher, that could cause more money to go away. And they're making comments about the dollar value going down. Just to give a quick summarization.
Wow. Talking heads.
You know how they are.
Pains me. Again, I'm on CNBC sometimes, and I hate it. I've been on like 4 or 5 times.
Don't say it too loud. They might be listening.
I know. It's just like by the time you guys get the news, it's just so late.
They give you things like that, right? So
it's a pretty sustained, crazy move. But I'm trying to find it here. Again, I'm all about positioning, and I think, let me see if I can find it. Yes, the large speculators are as short as they have been on the dollar here in a long time. And man, do these guys get it wrong. Can I do it? So that, no, I can't. That's too big. Hold on. Like, I don't know how these guys are so wrong so often. There we go. And this is just an easy way to look at it. So look, they're as long as they've ever been right in this area. And then we fall apart, right? They're super long right here before it fell apart. And now, as far back as this chart goes, a couple of years, they have never been this short the dollar. So that, to me, makes me very bullish the dollar, right? If we go back even further, and just find where people are positioned and do the opposite, it ends up being a really good move. So this is like a weekly chart, right? They got as long as they could in this area, and then it kind of completely fell apart. They've never been short the dollar all the way going back. I think this is 2021. Yeah, the last time they were short the dollar this much was right in this area right here before we absolutely skyrocketed. So everyone's short. Everyone's betting the dollar going lower. That makes me want to bet the dollar is going to go higher. Right now, there's nothing to show that on the chart. Right, you just don't want to blindly take the other side of someone's trade. You want to see something. That's why I have this line right here. I think if we get back above this area, this kind of 97 zone, that could be interesting because we had a big support there. We broke it. If you break through it, that could be like one of those liquidity grab moves. You could just buy it right there with a stop at these lows and see if it rips.
Is it time to finally say that the worst is over at ARK.
Jeez, that sounds talky.
I love saying things like this to get Michael going, man. You
That
guys see
sounds
it.
toppy. I don't. She's been doing okay. How much of this is Tesla though? I haven't looked at her holdings in a while.
It's
Man.
not Tesla. I think it's more loaded in Nvidia, some like air mobility.
Okay.
What's been doing well? Coin, of course, Coin. Big position
Yes.
in Coin.
Okay.
AMD. She has a big position now in AMD. CRISPR Therapeutics is going to either save or break her, I think, here. It's trying to turn things, and she's been betting big on CRISPR for like
CRSP.
as long as you can be, man. She's been betting on this thing, so we'll see what happens if that actually does turn.
Mm-hmm.
And then SoFi, she has SoFi, so SoFi is doing really well.
Well, listen, 100% move off the lows, and she's what up?
Roblox also a big position for her. That's been big high flyer, hasn't turned around. No one's talking about that one. I think a part of that is just a lot of people don't even use the game, but man, that's a huge run in Roblox. Shout out to Tim in the chat. I know he's probably listening in. Shout out to you, Tim. I know you're all about this trade. You've
look
been
at
on
that.
it early. So
the AVWAP from the IPO, right? Broke that, came down, tested it a couple times perfectly, and just exploded higher.
Exploded.
The only thing I know about Roblox is all of those videos that are out about how it's just filled with like the creepiest dudes. Like it's like one of those. My kids will never play Roblox.
Go on Roblox. You don't let your kids go on Roblox, kind of thing.
All I know.
That's
all I know about Roblox.
I've heard too many stories of that too. I wouldn't let my kids on it, but hey, it seems like a lot of parents are still letting their kids on it.
Yeah, none of that matters. None of our opinions on any of this stuff matters, right?
It doesn't matter, right? Even the opinion of that, right? Because it's never gotten the actual hit from some kind of regulation about that, right? There's been tons of reports, but for some reason, it doesn't get a hit on that.
Oh man, I'm deep down that. You want to go down that rabbit hole on YouTube, man? There's like all these guys who will like.
It is bad. It is bad. No, it's really bad. Like, there's some really bad scams that go on there. But hey,
it's an interesting process, interesting idea that you're giving people the tools to make a game, and then you let them make whatever you want. It's like you give humans tools and they find a way to corrupt those tools horribly.
Bad agents.
It's just
bad
like
agents.
every
There's
time.
Be bad agents always, right? Like bad agents in AI. There's going to be people that use AI for good. There's going to be people that use AI for bad, guys.
Yeah, and it's just how do you, right? It's like with YouTube, right? They're always trying their best to try to regulate what's on YouTube, and they probably have the best like content ID system and all of that in the game, but it's just the amount of content makes it
can't catch it all. You can't catch it all. That's just the way it works. Maybe in the future with AI making some calls, but other than that, it's going to be very difficult. All right. All right, guys. 10:47, almost wrapping up. Banks doing really well. Regional banks, one of the top moves in the week. So I would be continuing to look to see if that's catching up. Right, the XRT is one way to look at that. Not the XRT, KRE. KRE just completely pushing strong. That's a good breakout there. That's an advancing shoulders trade there on KRE. So big green bars, 3 green bars, very, very slight cut into each one of them. Looks really good there.
Yeah, we need to.
The dogs are barking. I'll be right back.
No problem. Yeah, this, the big kind of giveaway or takeaway that I could just give to you guys on the weekend is if you hold anything, take a deep breath. You got 3 days. Right? Don't get too excited. Everything is working now, and this is again comes like I said. If I'm telling you to do it, it means I've done it myself. Myself personally, especially with my swings, it's like I can't miss. It's like a young me would be like, Michael, you're a god. You're the best trader ever. You're the next Warren Buffett or Jim Rogers, whatever you want to call it, you are the greatest trader. You're going to become a trillionaire. It's going to be crazy. The old man me goes, this market is insane. And two things to take away. One, don't get too hyped. If you miss this run, probably not investment advice, probably not the time to be FOMOing in right now. If you are in this market and you're just making money hand over fist, I'm sorry, but you haven't figured it out, right? It's just this market just makes, it's the whole saying, don't confuse brains for a bull market. And then lastly, if you own things that are not participating in this run, you have to take a hard look at that holding. You got to take a hard look at that stock and say, why not? Right? Does it make sense that it's not participating in this game? If so, okay, then now it's time to kind of think and say, okay, is there something we can do here? However, if you can't come up with like a really solid reason that you could explain to a 5-year-old while your stock's not participating, it might just be a crap stock, and it might be time to get out because again, everything's going here. But that's the biggest thing I always like to do at these times. It's the whole like Buddhist, this too shall pass. Everything is working right now. You throw a dart at a board, you buy it, you end up making money off it. Great. Just know that it's not always going to be that way. And you take your money, have a great time, have some beers on the weekend, enjoy your Yankee day. But yeah, at some point we're going to get a bit of a pullback, and that's going to be kind of harsh for people. So
yeah, and also long weekends sometimes aren't the best bets, right? So just be careful here. Starting to see a little bit of some pullback there in the Qs. We might get at least a little pullback here after being straight up for 2 hours in the market here.
Yeah, what I was telling everyone, right, is it's just I remember the whole way down, I was calming people down that the world wasn't coming to the end, the market wasn't going to go down 100%, right? Just relax, and it's going to be the same on the way up, right? You call me a perma bear on the way, or perma bull on the way up, and you'll call me a perma bear on the other side, because what I was saying to them is that this is the moment where you can't help yourself but making money. You could walk in every day and slam your forehead on the keyboard, and whatever it types, you buy that symbol and it's probably up. Again, just level set expectations to say, okay, this is a lot of fun. I hope it lasts for a long time, but it won't last forever. And then you have to kind of make sure you have a plan of what you're doing with the money that you made, because hopefully you made a whole bunch. And then from there, go, okay, now what, right?
Oh, well, when BNMR start to crack, it's above 100.
What do we got? We got an hour until the market close. Might be time to start taking some profits in this name, because a lot of people are probably going to be winding down around now. And again, this isn't moving due to any sort of fundamental reason. This is just the casino, it closes early, so let's YOLO into the craziest thing that we can possibly find.
Yeah, I think it still hasn't broken the 9, so at least for me, I wouldn't be doing too much of shorting here. But you could start taking a look at it as it's above 100. What I think you're really looking at is the highs. What am I risking off the highs, right? If it breaks 100, I'm risking right now towards like 108, right? If it gets above 110, am I willing to risk 10 points, right? So those are the types of things you need to be thinking about. Of course, this stock has already moved in the day about 57 to 104, so about 50 points. So
yeah, about 100% move.
Yeah,
from the low of the day, up 81% today in
it's
total,
wild.
But gap down a little bit today.
Wild for sure.
And it's one of those. It's a low float stock. It's a stock in play. It's a stock that had a bunch of catalysts.
Man. It just keeps going too. It's just following. The algos are just following it.
This is right. You got all these retail nerds, and they're itching. They're jonesing for some money.
They're itching, man. They're itching, and that's a good move. And one of the things I'd say about the RGC is the same thing. It's 9 EMA recoveries and holding, not hitting the 50. Hasn't hit the 50 EMA all day on the 1 minute. There's a break towards 110 maybe. Can it get towards the 110? Let's see if it BMMR breaks that 110 now. It's right there. My mom is up an
Yeah.
insane amount on BMNR. She knows nothing. She bought it because she liked Tom Lee. Smart move. Tell your mom,
Now,
smart move.
does she like Tom Lee, the Bitcoin investor, or did she think it was Tom Lee, the drummer? And that's why I love his Twitter handle. It just says
I
Tom
love
Lee, and
it.
like
Love it.
he's got in quotation marks, not a bubble, or not the drummer in
Not the
his
drummer.
Twitter handle.
Not the drummer, guys. We'll see what happens. Big move there. Rando, tell your mom. Thanks for listening to the show. At least I hope she was when she caught that move. Was she watching CNBC and Tom Lee talk about it? Is that how she caught it? I'd love to hear it. But yeah, that's cash, man. That's cash. At some point, I think an interesting way to look at these when you have these types of moves, right? There's ways to secure some cash in the option game, but I wouldn't let your mom get in too much of that. But there's ways
does
now.
BMNR does it have options? It might.
It might.
Because that might be the move, right? That's yeah, no, it looks like it. So what is the oh no, we're on UNH. BMNR. Because I don't no options.
No options.
Oh no, I typed that wrong. BMNR.
RGC just going to a halt?
No. But yeah, that's always if someone has something like that that's BS luck, and they're like, "Oh well, I'm worried that if I sell it, it's gonna rip." And if I always tell them just that. I'm say, "Hey, she's sell calls." I think that's a great idea for things like that.
Take the money and run at some point. That's all I would say. But hey, it's up to you guys, right?
Yeah.
If I was up a working person salary, just make sure that you pay yourself at least what you want that vacation to be, right? That's the way I would look at it, right? This is probably going to be a nice vacation for her, Rando. Well, you talk to your mom, you advise her as much as you can. I'm not really advising her, but I would say at least if I was in this spot here, I'd be like, well, let me go look up a nice cruise right now. What's the price tag for that? I'm going to go pull the price tag off of this right now and secure myself a nice time, regardless where BMNR goes, right? That could be the move, right? Things like that I think are very important when you catch a move like this. I had her take a third off. There you go. That a boy, Rando.
I was starting to get a little bit. At least this isn't one of those, right? Tom Lee is a hugely prominent, well-trusted figure. It's not going to be a rug pull. It's not going to go to zero, but could it drop back to 50? Like, absolutely. That's
And that's why you jump on it too, because it's just a good name with the right opportunity in the right space and the right current environment. That was the key, the right current environment for this trade, right?
This launched in April, and it would go nowhere if it launched in April, right? It's only that we're near all-time highs. Yep. But yeah, so I wouldn't be worried about some of these things. Well, like this AEVA that we were looking at. Like, I don't know, this thing could go to zero. I don't know anything about it. This could be junk, but Tom Lee's not going to he's not going to join something. It's not worth his reputation to scam people like that. It's just not. The dude makes too much money what he's doing to go and scam people. So I'm not worried that you're going to wake up one day and this is a $2 stock.
Yeah.
But it's a bit insane right now. It could pull back to $30 and it's still well above when they announced him coming in. So I always just get nervous when people talk about, especially non-traders, and they just don't have a plan. You just have to do, I always do, and this is kind of my training, because it's regret minimization. You sit down with your mom, you say, okay, two outcomes. Say you sell most of it here.
Wow.
It goes to zero, right? You're happy that you've done that. Or it goes to 1,000 and you're sad that you have to look at which side of those things you would be more upset if they occurred. And then you just go with that, because no one knows what's going to happen to any of these. Anyone who says, oh, I know it's going to go to here, you just ignore that person entirely. So they have no idea. You say, yeah. And in fact, the more of those people, the louder that person is, the more you might want to fade it. But the idea is that you want, you do the regret minimization. You say, okay, you're up a bunch. would you be more mad if it came all the way back to your entry point, or would you be more mad if you took the money and then you woke up the next day and it tripled? And then whatever those answers are, that's the thing you do. That's the way I always look at things like that.
I like Rando's answer. She's 80. She don't give up.
Well, then you go listen, Mom. YOLO, right?
Vacation thinking. That's the way I would do it.
Pay yourself enough to do something fun and just YOLO the rest.
If I'm 80, I'm thinking about one thing on my bucket list right now, and I'm checking it off.
Yeah. Well, what do you want to do,
man? What do I want to do? Is it you always wanted to go to Paris? Well, make it happen. You want to go spend some times in the Maldives? Well, go spend that money. You said working money, salary. You can go spend it really quickly.
Go have a blast, right?
In the beach, right? There's a lot of beaches you can spend that money really quickly, and have some good times, right? Hey, with that type of money, you can do a lot of things, right? I think a lot of the times like this, I think that's a good way to thinking about it.
Well, and just know that this is. Could it be like 1,000? Could this rip to like $1,000? Yes, but the odds of that are, in my opinion, near microscopic. Right? This thing is already 10x off its lows.
Yeah,
anything above this is a gift. If it's my money, I'm out. I'm probably keeping 10% of it, and I'm just holding that forever because it was free. But other than that, I'm taking the 10x that I had, and I'm walking away, and I feel like a genius. If it doubles from there, I go, that's fine, right? I made 10x, so I'm good.
I think that's the way to approach it right here, and I think you're seeing RGC open up out the gates with almost a halt down right out the gates there. Got to 28 right there as soon as it opens up, right back down to 25.50s. So watch out there, guys. We could see some quick reversals in the market, at least on those high flyers like that, right? That's the thing about this, is that when it does come down, it's probably not going to give you a chance to get out, right? And so that's the key that we're talking about. When it turns wicked and fast, and it's just straight bid action, and you go to put a limit order. Next thing you know, your limit can't even hit because it's way past it, right?
Yeah.
And so those are the types of things where it's time, at least I would say, to do, for me, protection stops. I talk about protection stops. Those are stops you don't expect to hit, but you want to have some protection for the gain in this case, right?
Yeah, no, that's, again, regret minimization. If it goes to zero and all of that money you had goes away, how mad are you? Because I totally agree. We've seen it all the time. When these things end, they don't end pretty, right? Look at Bull, or look at Newsmax, or one of those things. When they end, it is just jackknife down, halting half
jackknife now. Right? Yeah, we can show you tons of these guys. They've existed in the past. Even that RGC has done this in the past. Just look at the daily. It will tell you it all, right? The stock went from 26 to 83 in one day. And in 4 days after that, it was down 86%, right? So these can go up in one day and back down in really one day, but really sometimes it's going to be 2 or 3. OST, another one, right? For example, there's tons of these guys, but it doesn't mean that you can't trade these either. I think you just have to be early on these, and then trading them now is just more about that day trading game. If you're really good and speedy type of trader, then maybe you can trade this, but it's definitely, let's say, to the high end day trader after the rip. Now, if you caught it when the news just came out, like I was at 14, you didn't need to be a pro. You could have caught it, taken your risk, and then let the rip kind of tell you how you're going to approach it from there. But for the traders that jumped on it, like after, let's say, 30s, you really need some skill if you're going to play with plays like this. It's not just a beginner's trade. Let's just say that much. All right, guys, 11:03. We'll wrap it up there. I thought it was great talk today, guys. I hope you had a great time. Of course, enjoy your July 4th. And the number one thing I will say is be safe, right? Sad news that we got this morning on X. I don't know if you guys saw it. There's not too many people that kind of really stay up with soccer. But this really prominent star passed away just recently, and it was on a car crash. So as someone that has been in a big car crash and I still say by miracle survived, be safe out there, guys. I really would advise that, especially on a time for independence. You can have fun. You can be an adult. I'm not telling you what to do, but at the same time, always remember that life comes and goes in an instant, right? And that one instant, this guy goes from being a real prominent legend right now in the premiere to unfortunately passing way too soon, right? So, hey guys, be safe out there. Trading will be around on Monday too. So if you want to go enjoy your holidays, enjoy it. It's always like that. That's one thing that you'll learn from Michael and I. We also try to enjoy our lives. Don't make trading such a stressful environment that you start to hate this place. It should be something you enjoy. It should be something that you get after. Yes, it can be frustrating, but we try to learn from our mistakes. We apply a lot of data analytics and we try to push forward, right? That's why you see Michael always, sometimes his systems are going to do really great. Sometimes they're going to do bad. And what does he do? He doesn't get mad about it. He adjusts. He makes changes and tries to make improvements the same way you should be doing out there, whether you're systematic or you're maybe subjective on your entries. The real key is trying to make improvements, looking at the system, your results. If that's not changing, make sure that you take this time, maybe on the long weekend, to review and really see what is the things that I'm doing wrong or what are the things that I'm doing right. All right, guys, wish you the best of luck. I know Michael wishes you guys all a safe July 4th also.
Keep your fingers on when you're playing with those fireworks, huh? No blown off fingers. You need those for trading.
Yeah, no blowing off fingers. You need those, guys. Stay safe out there. We'll see you next time right here. Trade the Pool.